Cross-site request forgery or CSRF vulnerabilities. What are they, how to discover them, and how to exploit them? We will cover all of that in a real-life, hands-on, practical example in this video. Watch till the end to learn how to practice and how to get access to free training and a possibility to win a Nintendo Switch. This is Zaid from Z Security, and if you're interested in ethical hacking, cybersecurity, or bug bounty, then make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit the bell so you get notified every time I upload an educational video like this one. Also, don't forget to like this video and share it with friends if you find it useful. CSRF vulnerabilities. These vulnerabilities fall under the broken access control category. According to the OWASP top 10 list, this is the most common security threat out there, with 94% of the websites tested being vulnerable to some sort of a broken access control. Broken access control is actually a really large category that contains a number of subcategories, such as path traversal vulnerabilities, CSRF, IDOR, and much more. It's basically a general term that encapsulates any bug or vulnerability that allows you to access or modify data beyond your limits or permissions. A simple example would be to be able to access or modify data that does not belong to you, that belongs to a different user. Platforms like Uber, GitHub, and Shopify were vulnerable to such vulnerabilities, and they paid anything between $500 and tens of thousands of dollars to the hunters that discovered such vulnerabilities. Obviously, the amount of bounty depended on the impact and the severity of the bug. CSRF happened because the application does not properly validate the submitted requests. As a result, requests can be forged to get the users to take actions they do not want to do. For example, we can get a user to change their email or change their password, submit a payment, or submit any kind of a request without them knowing that they are submitting that request. To test for this, similar to what we do with other broken access control vulnerabilities, you want to create two accounts on the target website, log in with one of the accounts, and make a list of all of the different requests that we can submit as this logged in user. For example, you usually can change your name, your email, or your password from your account page, or you can, for example, submit payments or comments or reviews. So you want to make a list of all of these requests and see if you can forge them, and I'm going to show you how to forge requests. And then we're going to log in as the other user, submit the forged requests, and see if they get accepted by the web application. So let me show you all of this in an example. Right here we have our target. I'm going to include its link in the resources. And as you can see, this time you have two accounts already made for you. So in a real life scenario, you want to create these accounts, but right now we already have these two accounts created for us. So we're going to log in as the first account, which is Wiener Peter. We're going to go to my account, put the username and the password. And as you can see straight away, we can see from our admin page, we can change our email. So first of all, let's test this functionality and make sure it works. So let's change our email to test@test.com. Hit enter, and perfect, that works. So now the next step is we want to see if we can forge this request and then log in as another user, as Carlos, and submit that forged request and see if the web application accepts it. If it does, then that means the web application is not verifying the users that are submitting the requests, because we're creating the request as Wiener and submitting it as Carlos, but the application is still accepting it and still applying our changes. And therefore, for example, if we're able to get Carlos to change their email to an email that we control, for example, my email, I can go ahead and use the password recovery functionality that is available on most websites and recover their password. And then I'll be able to gain full control over their account. So the impact of these vulnerabilities can be very, very high. It can actually be account takeover. So the form that is executing the action that I'm interested in is this form right here. So before we can create forged requests, let's try to simply clone this form and copy its functionality in a simple HTML file. To do that, I'm going to right-click the input box, click on Inspect, and that's going to reveal the HTML code that is responsible for rendering this page right here. And like I said before, it doesn't matter what language is used to program this web application. Everything gets translated to HTML and JavaScript at the end of the day. And as I move my mouse over the code, you can see the element that is relevant to the code that I'm selecting is being highlighted on the left. So like I said, we're interested in this form right here. This is the form that is carrying out the functionality that we are interested in. So I'm going to click on the code that is responsible for rendering this element or this form. I'm going to right click it and I'm going to select copy element. Then I'm going to go to an empty text file. You can use any text editor that you want. We're going to paste the code and I'm going to save this file in my local storage in a test directory. You can save it anywhere you want. And I'm just going to call it CSRF.html. This parameter states the endpoint or the path that the data that you input in the form goes to. So it states where the values that you input in here go to once you click on update email. And as you can see right now, it's gonna go to my account change email. But because we stored this file locally, we have to give the full location or the full path. So we have to put the full website in here. So we're just gonna go back, we're gonna copy the website name, the target name, and we're gonna paste it in here. I'm gonna save again, and I'm gonna go to the location where I stored this csrf.html file. So I stored it in a directory called test, and I'm gonna double click it to open it in my web browser. And as you can see, we get a very simple form. It doesn't look the same as the form that we have in the original target, but it functions the same. So you have the label, you have the input box, and you have the button that submits the form. And I'm just gonna inspect this element. And as you can see, once we click on submit, the data will be sent to the target website, which we have right here. Now, the only thing is we are trying to discover a client-side request forgery vulnerability. So we logged in as one user and we created a forged request, but to test if this request will be accepted by the web application, we need to log out from this user, log in as the other user, and then submit the form and see if the web application is going to accept this request that we created as user number one. If it does, then the target is vulnerable for a client-side request forgery. So I'm going to go to the target website. I'm going to go to my account. I'm going to log out and I'm going to log in again with the other user, which is Carlos. Put the password, hit enter. And now that I'm logged in as this user and we can see this email, we're going to see if the web application accepts a forged request that we created in here using a completely different user. So I'm just going to put another email in here. So let's say test55@test.com. Click on update email. And perfect, it looks like it worked. Let's go back to the My Account page and refresh. And perfect, as you can see, we managed to get the user Carlos to change their email to a completely different email using a forged request that was created by a completely different user, which is Wiener. Now, the thing is, you might argue that a target user will never submit a form like this, and you are correct in saying that, but there are ways to have this form in a HTML page that will automatically submit the request when the target user clicks on the link. But this goes more into website hacking, and I cover that more in my website hacking course. But what we're talking right now is bug hunting and pen testing. So when you're hunting for bugs and you discover something like this, it's actually better to include your finding like this, because it is easier for the person that is reviewing your bug to be able to see this form and play with it. Another thing that you want to look for when looking for CSRF vulnerabilities is hidden inputs. So as you can see right here, we have this input. It's hidden, so we didn't see it on the page, and the value of it seems like a bit of a random text. This is called a token, and it's usually used to prevent CSRF vulnerabilities. But this is not always implemented properly. As you can see in this example, we were still able to use this token from a different user. So if you see this when you're testing, you should still try to discover CSRFs. Just keep in mind, you might need to use a new token with every request. So just refresh the target page, get the new token, paste it in here, and then test it from a different user. If that doesn't work, try to remove it completely, and sometimes web applications still accept your request even if you don't submit a token. Now, it's very important to go ahead and practice this, guys. It is not enough to simply watch me do this. And like I said in my previous videos, the best places to practice are labs like this one, or you can participate in actual bug bounty programs or capture the flag competitions, or CTFs. Speaking of CTFs, there's actually a really cool one coming up very soon where you can actually win a Nintendo Switch. It's called Fetch the Flag. It's organized by Sneak and hosted by a fellow YouTuber, John Hammond. It starts on the 27th of October and it lasts a full day until the 28th of October. In this competition, you're going to be tackling 30 challenges, all revolving around ethical hacking and cybersecurity. You can do it on your own or as part of a team. And the top 3 teams, or the top 3 winners, will actually get a Nintendo Switch as a prize. And don't worry if you feel like you're not ready for such competitions, because Sneak is actually hosting a workshop to teach you how to properly approach and solve such challenges. The workshop is hosted a week before the competition on the 18th of October. This is free training, guys, so even if you think you're good, you should check it out because you might still learn a thing or two. To sign up, all you have to do is click the link in the description, fill your information as you can see in here, tick this box if you want to also attend the workshop, select your country, accept the terms, and submit the form. And that's all.